Today's video is made possible by Hulu Plus. For a free extended 2-week trial, check out huluplus.com/TLD. What's up internet, Kevin here with TLD. Well, the Xbox One came out about 3 weeks ago, which means we've had that much time to mess around with both it and the PS4. And we thought now is the time to give you guys our thoughts on how both systems have done. What their strengths are, their weaknesses, what to look forward to in the future, and if you're on the fence about what system to get, which one is just right for you. So sit back and relax and check out the newest generation of consoles. So here we have them, the Xbox One and the PS4. To begin with, I want to take a look at what each system has to offer in terms of its hardware, what you get right out of the box. Starting with the PS4, because it was the first released of the two systems, you can grab it in the States for $400. In the box, you get the system itself with a 500GB hard drive, HDMI adapter, AC adapter, a chat headset, DualShock 4 controller with its charging cable, a pair of 30-day memberships to PlayStation Plus and Music Unlimited, and a $10 voucher for PSN. With the Xbox One, you get a lot of similar product to begin with. You get the system itself with a 500GB hard drive, AC adapter, HDMI cable, chat headset, controller, and a 30-day membership to Xbox Live Gold. However, the system does cost an extra $100 at $500 because it also includes the Xbox Connect. Now, in terms of what you get just right out of the box, the Xbox One definitely has the better headset of the two. Neither of them are top of the line by any means, but the Xbox One headset doesn't give you the feeling of needing to rush out and replace it right away. On the other hand, while both systems do come with 30-day trials to their respective membership programs, the PS4 does throw in a $10 voucher, which is really nice if you bought any PS3 games that have a PS4 version you can upgrade into. Now, looking at the systems side by side, you can definitely tell that the Xbox One is the larger of the two systems. It's an inch taller, about 2¼ inches wider, and the PS4 is just a little bit deeper, but just because it has this whole slanted design theme going on. Now, as far as aesthetics go, that is a very subjective thing and very much a matter of personal preference, but I do have to say that I really like the look of the PS4 a lot more. It's thinner, I like the slanted design, and it's very reminiscent of the PS2, which is the system I spent a lot of time on. The Xbox One, on the other hand, just looks entirely too plain to me. I get that the idea is supposed to be that it's very simple and unassuming and have this sort of sharp box edge design, but it just ends up looking too much like an old cable box to me, although I do like the look of the new Kinect compared to the old one. Now, of course, a shell is just a shell. What's really important is what's inside of the system and how it runs. And as you can see here, we have our little decibel reader and infrared thermometer, so we can take a look at how loud each system is, as well as how hot each one gets. Now, as far as the infrared thermometer goes, we're not taking a look at how hot the actual core temperature is for the processor, we're just taking a look at the heat around the vents of the system, so you can get an idea of how much it's going to heat the room up. Now, when you're looking at the PS4, you'll notice that the vents are located just on the backside, and that's where all the heat and sound is coming out of. So you're seeing temperatures of about 50 degrees Celsius and a decibel reading of 50. The Xbox One, on the other hand, has numerous vents located on the top, sides, and back, and ends up being a lot quieter at only 40 decibels, and also a lot cooler temperatures coming out of the top of only 40 degrees Celsius. Now, what this means is that while sitting on the shelf, the PS4 is smaller and does look prettier, in my opinion at least. The Xbox One is the quieter of the two and will heat up the room a lot less. Now, in terms of what's inside of them and how they run, both systems are very comparable, as we saw from a lot of pre-launch info, with the PS4 having an edge. Both systems have dual quad-core processors based on AMD technology, with the PS4's clocked at 1.6 GHz and the Xbox One's overclocked to 1.75. Both systems do have 8GB of RAM, but it's worth noting that PS4 has GDDR5, whereas the Xbox One is using GDDR3, and is dedicating 3 of those gigs just to using its interface and multimedia services so it can accomplish some of its special functionalities like snapping. Now, as far as the graphics cards go, both systems are based on AMD GCN architecture, with the PS4 having a potential processing power of 1.84 teraflops and the Xbox One only having 1.31. What this means is that when it comes to exclusive games only released on one system or the other, PS4 games do have the chance to look a lot prettier or have more crazy stuff happening at once. When it comes to multi-platform games, you're really not going to see too much because most devs do take the time to make sure it's optimized for both systems and more or less operate the same. One other important thing to consider is the fact that while both systems do have 500GB hard drives, the PS4 is designed so that you can replace it when you want to, whereas the Xbox One is designed to make it very difficult to do so, and in fact, you'll actually void your warranty if you want to. Now, 500 gigs is a healthy amount of space for most casual gamers. If you're just going to play it every now and then, or you don't mind deleting things here and there, it'll last you a while. But if you're a hardcore gamer and you're going to buy a lot of stuff, especially digitally, then that space is going to fill up very fast over the years. Now, it is worth noting that the Xbox One will down the line support USB 3.0 external storage, but that is currently not an option. So enough about the physical product, let's talk about what these things can actually do on screen. Now those of you that watch this channel more regularly will remember that we did interface tours of both the Xbox One and PS4 shortly after the releases. And after messing around with both of them for a while, I have to say I really like the PS4's a lot more. It's very reminiscent of the cross-media bar from the PS3, but with enough changes and upgrades to make it a lot more user-friendly. It's neat, it's organized, it's very appeasing to the eye, and one of the features I really like is that you can highlight a game and immediately reach all the relevant info for it, like community updates or stuff that's available for DLC in the PSN store. Now what I don't like about it is that it's not very customizable. You're always going to see your most recently used apps and then have to look through your entire library otherwise, which currently isn't very large, but as the years go by, those apps are going to build up. The Xbox One, on the other hand, does have one feature I really like that addresses this, which is pinning. Now what I like about this is that it lets you take apps you like to use often and you can intentionally pin them to the home screen. So whenever you start up your Xbox, you can just look to the left of the main home menu and there's all the apps you like to use often. You can also remove them afterwards, so you can always change your preferences. Now with that said, one of the reasons why I like using pins is because it helps me to avoid using the rest of the interface. Now just like with aesthetics, interface is one of those things that can be somewhat subjective and some people might have differing opinions, but to me the Xbox One interface just looks entirely too cluttered. They aimed it very much at making it easy to find very recent or very popular things, but the moment that you need to start browsing more in depth and look for more content, instead of doing a direct search for something, it just becomes very tedious. Now another thing is that while it looks very similar to the latest 360 dashboard design, a lot of changes have been made that are not explicitly clear, meaning that this interface has a much higher learning curve than most Microsoft designs have had in the past. Now mind you, overall I don't think it's a terrible interface, it's just that this one takes a lot more getting used to and a lot more time studying and learning than anything Microsoft has given us before, which is very uncharacteristic of them. Usually I end up liking the Microsoft interfaces a lot more than Sony's, but that's just not the case this year. One thing the Xbox One does try to do to make things a little easier for you with the interface is that they are once again reintroducing connect commands using your voice or gestures. I actually really like voice commands this time around. Yes, you have to make sure that you speak very loud and clearly, and yes, there are a lot of shortcuts you need to memorize, but once you do, it makes the whole experience a lot nicer. I really like being able to just walk into the room, start up the system, and have my game running before I even pick up a controller, or set the controller down right away and shut off the system with just a word. Now, gesture commands, on the other hand, I don't like so much. It's not so much using them directly that's the issue, it's the fact that oftentimes it'll pick up unrelated movements thinking you're trying to tell it to do something. As an example, I was recently watching a movie on the Xbox One with my family, and while we were having side conversations here and there, or even my brother picking up his guitar, made the system think we were trying to tell it to do something, bringing up the overlay or even pausing the movie, which interrupted the experience a couple of times. Now what's really bothersome about this is the fact that you can't turn off just one or the other form of control. You either turn off the Kinect entirely, making both unusable, or you have it active so you have to deal with both of them at once. So if you want to use one but not the other, tough luck. Now, taking a look at a lot of the special extra services offered by each system, this is one area that the Xbox One has definitely won over compared to the PS4. Not just in terms of what services are available, but how you can make use of them with a lot of multitasking options. Now, a lot of the current favorites are returning, things like Netflix or Hulu or having an internet browser on the system, but with the Xbox One, you're also getting options like being able to Skype through your television, which gives you a really cool Back to Future 2 feeling. Now, the thing that really makes this interesting, though, is the option to snap. This means that you can run two applications at the same time on screen. Now, not everyone's going to make use of all of these, not everyone wants to watch Netflix while playing a game at the same time, but the ability to do things like Skype on the side while playing a game, which will be available in the future, or internet browse on the side, or control party options, is really handy. Now, adding this on to the fact that the system does have an HDMI in, meaning that you can watch regular television through the Xbox, means that you can also snap that on the side, so that way you can watch one of your favorite sports games going on while you play a game, or if you want to and have both systems, you can even hook up a PS4 to it and play both systems at the same time. Now, one other new feature that is available on both systems is the integration of smartphones and tablets using their respective apps, Microsoft Smart Glass or the PlayStation app for your phone. Now, what this does is it lets you use your phone or tablet as a remote control for your system, or even being able to do things like directly pick which app you want to play. It also unlocks special second screen functionalities in some titles, meaning that sometimes while playing a game, you can see special information or have special access to missions you normally wouldn't have. Now, one interesting feature that is exclusive to PS4 is that if you own a PS Vita, you can not only use that for second screen functionality, but you can also directly stream what's happening on your PlayStation to the Vita, whether you're playing a game or watching a movie. Now, of course, controls with the Vita are a bit different and take some getting used to, and you're not going to see the same level of video quality on the Vita, but overall it does a great job of accomplishing the main task of giving you a way to portably play your favorite PS4 games within the household. Now, all these special functions and apps aside, the main reason why most of you are thinking about getting one of these systems in the first place is of course the games. Now first off, I want to take a look at the controller for this system and how it affects gameplay this time around. Both of them have received major makeovers from the previous generation, which is really surprising for Sony since the DualShock has maintained the same general shape since the very first PlayStation. Both controllers are a lot more comfortable than the previous generation, and both have received major upgrades in places that they needed them. For instance, the Xbox One now has a much better D-pad than the Xbox 360 did without all that weird webbing, and the PS4 controller actually has triggers as opposed to those weird soft things that the DualShock 3 had, making it a lot better for shooters. Both systems have replaced the start and select buttons. Start is now the menu or options button, which does the exact same thing, whereas the select button is now the share button on the PS4, which enables a lot of the social functions, and the Xbox One has the view button, whose use varies based on what application you're using, for instance bringing up your bookmarks in the internet browser. Now as far as individual upgrades go, the PS4 does now feature that touchpad right smack dab in the middle of, which we haven't really made too much use of yet. All I've really used it for so far is in Killzone, where you can swipe on it to select different modes for your drone. You also now have a speaker located right below that touchpad, which various games make use of to oftentimes catch you off guard and just start talking to you out of nowhere instead of giving audio out of your main speakers. You'll also notice that now at the bottom of the PS4 controller is an audio jack, so you no longer have to use any basic chat headsets by plugging them all the way to your system using a USB cable, unless of course you are buying a much higher quality one. Now the Xbox One controller changes are much more subtle compared to the PS4's. It's mostly a lot of form factor and a lot of changes to the shape. Like we said before, the D-pad has been upgraded, and you'll also notice that the battery port is no longer this big hunking thing hanging out the back of the controller, but instead folds right into the back, so it's very seamless. The controller also now has an improved shock feature, which instead of having the whole controller vibrate like a madman whenever something happens in-game, it now shakes in different locations to give you an idea of what's happening in-game. For instance, let's say you're playing something and there's an explosion that's behind you to the left, well, the bottom left side of the controller will start to shake, which is a really cool idea, actually. Now, one thing I have been seeing some people debate online is which controller is better based on its battery use, because both of them are doing the same thing as the last gen. The Xbox One controller comes with AA batteries, which you can also replace with a recharge pack for $25, whereas the PS4 controller just has built-in rechargeable batteries. And really, both of these have their strengths and weaknesses. The cool thing with rechargeable batteries is of course the fact that you don't have to buy batteries. And since the PS4 does now have a standby mode, it's very easy to charge the controller when you're not using it, rather than making sure that your system is running all the time. On the flip side of things, having rechargeable batteries built into the controller does mean that over time they can and will die, especially if you don't take very good care of how you charge it, or if you just got a bad battery out of the bunch, meaning that when this happens, you have to buy a whole new controller for $60, or opening up and replacing the batteries while hoping you don't accidentally damage the controller. With the Xbox One controller, on the other hand, you can just keep on buying AA's and not worry about it, or buy a recharge pack separately, and if that ever dies, just buy another one. Either way, you're spending more money in the long run, it's just how often you're doing it and how much you're spending each time. Now, as for the games themselves, it's important to note right away that neither system is backwards compatible at all, physically or digitally, meaning that if you pick up one of these systems, anything you owned from a previous system or anything you bought online to play digitally will not be available on it, so you still have to hold on to your old system. Now, PlayStation has mentioned that they have plans in the future to make use of Gaikai to allow for streaming emulation in the future, but plans for that really haven't been made very clear yet or very solid, so that's still really up in the air. Now, as far as actual launch titles go, both systems have access to a lot of popular multi-platform games, some of which are still available on previous generations. Things like Battlefield 4, Assassin's Creed 4, Call of Duty Ghosts, Need for Speed Rivals, and popular sports games like NBA 2K or Madden. Now, as far as exclusives go, both systems have their own handfuls that they're really trying to push. Sony has Killzone Shadowfall and Knack, along with the digital game Resogun, which you do get for free as a PlayStation Plus member, whereas the Xbox One has games like Dead Rising 3, Rise Son of Rome, Forza 5, and digital games like Crimson Dragon and Killer Instinct. Now, I really do have to hand it to Microsoft. As far as launch titles alone go, I have been enjoying the Xbox One a lot more. Now, part of this is due to bias. I do enjoy Killzone, but I've never been a huge fan of the series, whereas Dead Rising is a game that I really enjoy, and I'm a big fan of fighters like Killer Instinct. Now, this is of course by no means indicative of how the whole life cycle of the systems will go. There are a lot of exclusives planned for both of them. On the Sony side of things, we have things like Drive Club, which was planned to be a launch title but got pushed back, Infamous Second Son, Uncharted 4, Deep Down, and The Order, whereas on Xbox we have a new Halo game, Fable Legends, Quantum Break, Sunset Overdrive, and games that'll be available on PC as well, but not the PS4, like Project Spark and Titanfall. Now, something to look forward to with this generation is that exclusive titles are going to have a lot more unique functionalities than usual. With the Xbox, we're seeing a lot more special commands with the Kinect using gesture or voice, whereas on the PlayStation, we now have that touchpad functionality as well as the speaker right on the controller. In other words, either way, whichever system you're currently debating, both of them have a lot of fun exclusives planned out for the long run. Now, one new gaming-related feature that both systems have is that you have a method of recording gameplay and uploading it online without the use of an external capture device, which is the only way to record on the PS4 right now because it does have HD copyright protection at all times, though they will have a patch in the future that will lift it while playing games. Now, both systems do allow you to instantly record the past so much time that has happened in-game, though the Xbox One does have the additional option of being able to intentionally start and stop recording when you please, as long as it maxes out at 5 minutes. Now, in terms of upload options, the PS4 does currently have more of them. With video, you can upload it to Facebook, and with screenshots, you can do Facebook or Twitter. You can also live stream to both Ustream and Twitch, although the Playroom is currently not allowed on Twitch due to certain popular PR nightmares involving live people, audiences, and a camera. The Xbox One, on the other hand, only allows you to upload for other Xbox One users to watch, and there's no option to stream live right now, though there are plans to do Twitch early next year. Now, a big policy change that has affected some people this time around is that both systems do require you to pay for their online membership to play games online, which was a big deal for some people last gen because Sony was the option for free to play. Now, of course, the counter-argument to this is that with last gen, Xbox did have the much more enjoyable online experience, mainly due to the fact that you were getting what you paid for. Now, that being said, you're not paying for these online memberships just to play things online. They both offer a lot of other special features like early access to demos or special sales that'll happen around the year. PlayStation Plus does still offer the free games for the PS Vita or the PlayStation 3 if you own them, as well as free games for the PS4, currently numbering 2 at a time, with the ones right now being Resogun and Contrast. Xbox Live Gold has also started their own program giving out free games, though currently they're just for the 360, nothing on the One just yet. Price-wise, they are very comparable. The PS4 does end up being a bit cheaper in the long run though. PlayStation Plus, if you're buying it for a full year, is $50, whereas Xbox Live Gold for a full year is $60. They both also have slightly more expensive 3-month options, and only Xbox Live Gold currently has a 1-month option at $10 a month. Now, one other important thing to note is that PlayStation Plus is not required if you want to use media streaming apps that have their own subscription fee like Netflix or Hulu, whereas Xbox Live Gold is going to require you to pay for both if you want to use them. So if you don't care about playing games online, but you do want to watch your favorite media streaming apps like Hulu Plus, then PlayStation 4 will let you do just that without any additional fees. Today's video, by the way, was made possible by Hulu Plus, who we'd like to take a moment to thank for their support, which allowed us to take the time and effort to make a much longer video than we normally are able to. Now, while many of you may have used Hulu in the past, Hulu Plus lets you do a lot more, like watching your favorite currently airing shows or binge watch your favorite completed series in HD on your TV using one of many streaming devices available on the market, including the PS4 and Xbox One. Not only that, but you can even watch your favorite shows on the go by using your tablet or smartphone with the Hulu Plus app. Being a member also nets you access to older seasons of shows not normally available, as well as Hulu original series like The Wrong Mans or Behind the Mask. Now, I've been a long-time Hulu Plus user before they even approached us, and they were nice enough to hook up our audience with a special extended 14-day free trial by heading over to huluplus.com/TLD. Now, many of you have asked us in the past how you can help support the channel. Well, this is the perfect way to do it, while also getting the chance to try out a great service for free. Now, make sure that you do use the link below so that they'll know that we sent you and that you can take advantage of the special 14-day trial today. So in the end, which system would I recommend more, the Xbox One or the PS4? Well, the honest truth is it really depends a lot more on who you are as a person. If you're a casual gamer and you're just looking for a system that'll let you play a lot of the biggest name multi-platform titles, then you'll find a lot of the extra info and bells and whistles we mentioned earlier to be really useful. If you're looking for a system that has a lot more family functions and multimedia options and multitasking, then the Xbox One is really handy. The PS4, on the other hand, does have the benefits of a lower price point, a cheaper membership fee, free games while you're a member, and if you own a PS Vita, the ability to play your games portably within the household. Now, if you're a hardcore gamer, on the other hand, the only major information that really should matter to you is which exclusive games are on which system, because that's why you're buying one of these in the first place, to play the games that you want to play. If there's any major piece of information that I want to stick with you guys, it's that you should put aside all the different ad campaigns, all the different fanboy rage, and just take a look at what games you're actually interested in and pick up the system that'll let you play them. If no games out right now really interest you, then there's no reason for you to have to run out and buy a system just this moment. Unless, of course, you're getting it as a gift or you really need to one-up one of your friends. Otherwise, just take a step back, take a moment to look at what games are on what system, what's coming out, take a look at all the reviews, and then you can decide which system is just right for you. Well, those were our thoughts on the PS4 and the Xbox One and which system is right for you. If you enjoyed this vid, please make sure to let us know by hitting that like button, as well as checking out that Hulu Plus free trial that we mentioned earlier. If you're not a subscriber yet, then you should become one now, because we have more content on the way, including reviews of all the next-gen games coming out. Now, if you're thinking about grabbing one of these systems, we have posted links in the description for both of them for pricing and availability. Now it is a little rough to find either one right now, it being the holiday season, but if you're watching this a few months in the future, I'm sure you'll be able to grab one right now. Now we do have links below to all the gear we used to make this video as well, and if you have any questions that we didn't address in the video, hit me up on Twitter or in the comments section. Until next time, I'm Kevin for TLD, thanks for watching.